Welcome to episode 5 of Unplugged, the series in which we
talk about 5 different topics that we like. 2001, A Space Odyssey. What do you think of it?
What do I think? Overall, I think
Brilliant.
It was good. I wouldn't say brilliant.
It was brilliant. I mean, watching it now, okay. Not as good. Go back in time, watch it in 1968 when all you saw was some crappy old shitty movies. You might think differently.
Yeah,
right?
but that's not the point. The point is you're watching it now.
Yeah, for now. We got...
You weren't, my parents weren't even born in 1968 when it came out, so you can't go back in time and say, oh, it was great then.
Yeah.
You got to watch it now and talk about it now. So
Well,
nowadays films are a lot more interesting in some ways because they have to keep the audience's attention because there's so much choice. Back in 1968, that was maybe 1 out of 10 films released that year that people could go and see in the cinema. So they didn't have the choice. So you had to watch it, and you had to kind of go through these elongated kind of detached.
I mean, honestly, filmmaking
scenes.
back then was a bit different.
It was. It certainly was. I mean, the storytelling mechanism is the same. You still tell a story.
Yeah.
You felt like you were away from it. You were just supervising it. You felt like Hal, the robot, that's just supervising this whole film. And that just doesn't have much of an influence in some way. And I think in some ways that's great storytelling because you are still telling a story and you're not having to rely on reverse shots of 180 close-ups and all of that, and you're not relying on the camera to do most of the kind of dirty work as such to tell the story. You're relying more so on the scenery. But in some ways, I think if you did that for a film nowadays, you would lose your audience because your audience would get disinterested, they'd get disengaged, and the film wouldn't succeed in this time. But it did back then. Obviously, one of the biggest points in the film is the music.
Yeah. Classic music.
Classic music. I mean, most people will know the Space Odyssey song, but they won't know the film.
That song must have influenced so many different songs. I mean, how many for the last 20 years, that we've been watching movies? How many times have you heard that, music in sort of like a space environment? Comedies and intros, and they made jokes out of it. I mean, the music is just classic. It was well used.
Yeah,
really well used.
Definitely.
I mean, honestly, 1968, and you're looking at those effects, and you're still thinking, how was it made?
Well, basically the film had 240 visual effects scenes, or 240 or 300. I think it was 300. And Kubrick specifically insisted that these were to be done live, so they were supposed to be live visual effects rather than matte or blue screened, which would have looked a lot worse. Oscar in 1968 for visual effects, which they thoroughly deserved. In terms of the effects, it really did stand out. And when you think that this was made even before my parents were born, it was ahead of its time in some way, just for the amount of sort of effort and.
I really like how influential the film is. I mean, recently this year actually, well, starting from 2015 till a year and a half. So I watched 2 films, and now I see where they got their influence from. I watched Interstellar and Moon, and they were both just almost identical in a way. Favorite part of the film for me was the ending. It had the most suspenseful moment in it. I mean, the guy is in his spacesuit, creeping around the bedroom because he's no idea what's going on. He got near the magical black domino block, and next thing you know, after 15 minutes visual effects, that's what it seemed like, he's in the futuristic looking bedroom. He looks that way around the corner, and there he is himself in the future, so maybe 20 years later, eating by himself. And to be fair, it's great to see how the Kubrick thought of what the future would look like. I mean, it's like his bedroom is all like with light up tiles, and it's kind of echoey because it's so spacious, and it just seemed kind of interesting what he thought the future would look like, even though it was nothing like it now. Captain Hindsight, and then you're thinking, like, it's tough for me to explain it, but you're seeing himself hearing something, and he's looking around, and now you're gonna see he's looking at himself. But no, the point of view changes to him, and he's staring at nothing. And then he goes back to eat. He looks at his bed. It's him again in maybe even another 20 or 30 years, like really, really old. And then the point of view changes once again of him trying to then reach that, you know, space thingy, the black domino, and it cuts to him being inside embryo, you know. And it's like, is that the reason of life? Is it just shows you your future if you get near it? Like, it's mind blowing. It's suspenseful. It's interesting. I mean, that's what I think kind of made the whole film complete.
It's a mindfuck.
The mindfuck ending. To me. Yeah. So that was my favorite part.
Overall, it is a good film.
A classic.
It can be slow. It can be disappointing for the average viewer. I wouldn't actively recommend to go and watch it because it is 2.5 hours long and it just drags on.
But if you want to see how influential the film was, then at least, you know, skip through it.
Yeah.
If
you're a film buff, watch it. If you're just an average viewer looking for some entertainment, definitely not for you.
No.